Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we continue our focus on the successor chapters with the Wrath of the Templars. How High Marshal Helbrecht is prepared to take on the Inquisition. General spoiler warning to begin, as today we will be referencing events from across the Warhammer 40k universe, and in particular the story Blood and Fire by Aaron Dembski-Bowden. As always, I really recommend you read the stories for yourself first without spoilers, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. And with that said, let's just jump straight in. So yesterday we discussed the fall of the Celestial Lions chapter, just why they truly incurred the wrath of the Inquisition, and how their chapter was systematically dismantled. As we discussed, this all transpired upon the world of Armageddon. The Celestial Lions chapter answered the call for aid in full chapter strength, to face the scourge of Ghazghkull Thraka. Despite fighting valiantly to defend the people of the world, they found themselves victim to a relentless and merciless campaign of sabotage and betrayal by the Inquisition. The chapter brought 983 Marines to Armageddon. They left with virtually none. The fact any survived at all is thanks only to the aid of their fellow Sons of Dawn, the Black Templars Chapter, who through the actions of Reclusiarch Grimaldus refused to let the chapter become extinct, to lose their proud bloodline to the annals of history. And we were actually privy to a conversation on the Celestial Lions' plight between Grimaldus and High Marshal Helbrecht within the story Blood and Fire. Now at that point, Grimaldus only had suspicions after receiving a recorded appeal for aid from a Celestial Lion chaplain named Jolkara, and so he went to the High Marshal to discuss the matter. And this was a really interesting and revealing conversation, because it revealed not only did Helbrecht already have his own suspicions due to the Celestial Lion's fleet suffering a ridiculous amount of accidents and bad luck, but surprisingly too, it seemed he was prepared to do something about it. Now the conversation took place aboard the Eternal Crusader, the legendary flagship of the Black Templars, in orbit above Armageddon as the war still raged below. And after Grimaldus showed Helbrecht the message, the High Marshal cut straight to the heart of the matter, asking Grimaldus if he wished to destroy those responsible, essentially the Inquisition, or at least the Inquisitors responsible. And Grimaldus didn't deny it or say no, but he simply kind of reflected that as much as he would like to, it wasn't really possible, was it? And this is where we got an absolutely fantastic line, and a really quite thought-provoking one for the future. Because as Helbrecht stated, Grimaldus is risking war with the Inquisition, which Grimaldus accepted, rather than object to it, or warn his Reclusiarch against it. High Marshal Helbrecht made it quite clear he was up for it. I do not fear that conflict, Grimaldus. Injustice must be opposed. Impurity must be purged. But the Eternal Crusader sets sail in 3 days, my brother. The Warlord has fled from Armageddon, and our first duty must be to hunt him down. High Marshal Helbrecht is prepared to take the Black Templars to war against the Inquisition. Oh man, I gotta tell you, when I read that, I got absolute goosebumps. I do not fear that conflict, Grimaldus. Injustice must be opposed. Impurity must be purged. The more I see and read of the Black Templars, the more I just absolutely fall in love with the chapter. Helbrecht here is dedicated and pledged to the hunt of Ghazghkull Thraka, who has not long fled Armageddon at this point. However, to me, he's laying it clear here, if there needs to be a fight against the Inquisition after that, well then that's exactly what he'll do. And even needing to depart with no Black Templar knights to spare, Helbrecht later deploys the Templars to save the remnants of the Celestial Lions chapter in their final stand against the Greenskin menace. Even in the aftermath, gifting the Lions a Templar vessel to take the few survivors home, and anointing Ekene Dubaku as their new chapter master. All of which would absolutely not have gone down well with the Inquisition. High Marshal Helbrecht here laid clear where the Black Templars' loyalties were laying, and that was with their fellow Sons of Dawn chapter. They would fight beside them, and they would fight whoever stood against them. Now since then, the galaxy has undergone a radical change, with the fall of Cadia and the emergence of the Great Rift, not to mention the return of the Primarch Rabute Gilliman, and even since then now, the return of Lion L. Johnson. Helbrecht's personal vow to bring down Ghazghkull remains to be done, and so his hunt continues. However, if Helbrecht and Grimaldus thought or hoped the Inquisition would have left their prosecution of the Celestial Lions upon Armageddon, well then, unfortunately, they couldn't be more wrong. For within the novel Spear of the Emperor, also by author Aaron Dembski-Bowden, we saw the Inquisition's agenda against the Celestial Lions continued. Despite their homeworld of Elysium now being isolated across the Great Rift, despite the Imperium Nihilus being plagued by the forces of chaos, becoming truly a nightmare realm, with worlds cut off alone and every Imperial force battling for survival, with the Celestial Lions still fighting back against the dark and clinging to survival, the Inquisition would still follow them across the Great Rift, smuggling an assassin across the Cicatrix Maledictum and assassinating their chapter master. The legend of Ekene Dubaku has fallen to an Inquisition assassin. The pettiness of the Inquisition's Inquisitors knows no bounds. However, conversely, maybe they should have known themselves. Neither does the wrath of the Black Templars. Considering the state of the galaxy, I can't help but feel Grimaldus and Helbrecht are going to be fueled with rage at the Inquisition's latest action. The chapter master Helbrecht himself demanded assume the role, the man who held together the remnants of the Celestial Lions, the man who Helbrecht gifted a Templar vessel to take them home, has now been assassinated. In by far the most open action the Inquisition have ever taken against the chapter. Before there was a chance it could just be mistake, bad luck, misfortune, as unlikely and remote and inconceivable as all the actions could be. However, here, with an out-and-out assassination, with the assassin being witnessed and in turn hunted down, there is no longer any doubt. Perhaps the Inquisition thought their act would go unnoticed across the Great Rift, and perhaps thus far it has, with communications being virtually impossible. Perhaps they hoped to make the most of the Imperium Nihilus's predicament, and eradicate the remnants of the rest of the chapter. However, it is surely only a matter of time before word reaches the High Marshal's ears. And then, surely, we could well see High Marshal Helbrecht act. The Templars could well go to war with the Inquisition. This wrongful annihilation of a fellow Sons of Dawn chapter will surely not be allowed to stand in the eyes of High Marshal Helbrecht. The realities of such a war aren't easy to navigate, for each Inquisitor is really a power unto themselves. Who or how many Inquisitors could be tied up in this prosecution of the chapter may be impossible to know, meaning it'd possibly have to be a blanket war against the Inquisition, or at least the Ordo Hereticus. However, let's be honest here, if there was any chapter who could go toe-to-toe with the Inquisition, well then it would surely have to be the Black Templars. The simple fact of the matter is, we don't know how many Templars are out there, but it is well over the Codex mandate. We've had everything said from 5,000 to 6,000 before, into the tens of thousands, even possibly over the mythical 100,000. With several thousand crusade companies out there, we just don't know. It's likely only High Marshal Helbrecht himself knows for sure, if even he does. And with him clearly not even sweating a confrontation with the Inquisition, that surely tells us something. So, in such an encounter, the Inquisition could find themselves struggling to call together Astartes chapters to their side, with opinion of them not favourable to say the least. Fellow Sons of Dawn would surely side with the Black Templars and the Celestial Lions. The likes of the Space Wolves would gladly raise their banner for the fight, having long had their own grudges against the Inquisition. And there could well be many more. It could well cause very real internal conflict amongst the Inquisitors, who could well prefer to hand over Inquisitor Apollyon and whoever else is responsible. Or perhaps not, with it being a direct opposition to their power. At the end of the day, one thing's for sure, I really hope we get to see this story continued. To see the Celestial Lions continue to cling on to salvation. To see Grimaldus and Helbrecht's rage unleashed at the Inquisition's continued actions. To maybe see a hunt for Inquisitor Apollyon, or even to see the Templars marshalled for war entire. As always everyone, what do you think? How do you feel High Marshal Helbrecht will react to news of the Celestial Lions chapter master being assassinated? Quite clearly by the Inquisition. Will this be the final straw? Will he marshal the Black Templars for war? Will the other Sons of Dawn rally to that fight? And how do you feel the Inquisition will react to such a declaration? Would we see the Inquisitors responsible handed over? Or would more Inquisitors rally to Inquisitor Apollyon's banner? I don't know about you, but for me this is a storyline that surely has to be continued, and it absolutely has to have the Black Templars involved. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. With that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.